homer, led the league in tackles with 85. The deep ball for Darius Prince, and Philadelphia's on the board first.
On the draw, this is Grayson Allen. And Allen weaving his way all the way down to the 22.
10-yard line, 5. Mayfield, dancing all around. Throw it as far as he can throw it. Jump ball coming. Crazy stuff. Not this time.
And you want to be a wide receiver. You're going to have to take a little bit of a hit like that as Brown got him in that shoulder, but watch. Those are teeth.
Do we have a dentist on staff here?
Shady Sports. Today I'm back with another special interview. I'm here with defensive lineman Enoch Smith Jr. Enoch, how we doing today, big dog?
I'm sorry. I'm blessed and highly favored. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So, I kind of want to dive right into, entire career. You grew up in Chicago, Illinois.
Yes, sir.
Some call it the biggest city in the world. Talk to me about that environment and what it means to be from Chicago.
Man, being from Chicago is beautiful, man. It comes with its ups and downs for sure. You just got to find something to motivate you to push and get through certain circumstances and situations. Otherwise, you can get lost. And I found a sense of purpose at a young age, following underneath my father's wing, wanting to play football, but not just wanting to play football, wanting to be better than him. And I told myself at a young age, I was like, Pops, I'm going to be better than you. And he challenged me. He told me, good luck. And I used that to help me get to the point where I am today. And also watching football on TV, becoming a fan of Donovan McNabb, finding out he was from Chicago, going to Mount Carmel High School, and me wanting to go to Mount Carmel ever since I was like 6, 7 years old, because he went there. And he won one state championship. I wanted to go there and win more than him. So just finding different things to help you keep pushing in a place where you can get lost at in Chicago. But it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful when you have the opportunity to, embrace the city and see it for what it's really worth.
Mount Carmel High School is very, very known by people who are from Chicago.
Absolutely.
It's a super competitive environment. Talk about trying to stand out in that environment.
Man, I actually transferred to Mount Carmel my sophomore year back in 2011. But going to Mount Carmel is it's not for everybody. Mount Carmel's motto is you come to Carmel as a boy, you care enough to work and struggle at it, you leave as a man. And those words are true because you endure so much. Mount Carmel being a private Catholic high school on the south side of Chicago, being all boys. So just being an all boys school right there can mess with you mentally. I remember when I went on my shadow date there. I know their history in football, but I did not know it was all boys until I went on that shadow date. And I looked left, I looked right, and what is this? But it's a place that allows you to focus on your craft or whatever you decide to do, and they have pieces there to help you be the best version of yourself and challenge yourself. Man, that's how I was able to thrive there, finding people who, went there before me, like the guy who helped bring me in, Vontrell Williams. He's actually the defensive line coach at Auburn right now. He brought me in under his wing. At the time, he was one of the top defensive linemen in the state of Illinois. He's 2 years older than me. So his senior year was my sophomore season. And I remember he was getting college attention, and I was like, man, I want that same college attention, but I want more. So he would help, motivate me. And I would use some of the guys that went to Carmel before, use them as motivation. Like I said, Donovan McNabb, use my dad. And I had some great I had some great guys around me that helped me stay on track. That worked at EFT Sports Performance, Jamal King, mentors in my church, my coaches at Mount Carmel, like David Linty, one of the best coaches I've ever had in my life. Mark Antonetti, um, like people like that help mold me into the person, not just the player, but the person I am today.
You know, that's so great that you had that many male role models kind of pushing you to where you had to get to. But I want to talk about your college recruitment because you made a decision, to go to Michigan State. But one school that popped up that I'm shocked you to go to, they were recruiting you since the beginning, the Illinois Fighting Illini. They were hard on you. They really wanted you. What about Illinois made you not want to go there?
um, it's a couple stories in particular, but the main thing that it boiled down to was me finding the right fit for me, on the field, off the field, and 40 years down the line. And I just felt like at the time, the university didn't have everything that I needed to help get me to where I wanted to be. They had a good staff. They were in the building stage, but I felt like I was past the building stage. I wanted to be somewhere that was more solidified, and concrete at the particular time, because that was 2014 when I enrolled to Michigan State. But during that time, the Illini, they weren't having their best years at the time. Tim Beckman was the head coach. I remember having several meetings with him. And the crazy part, Tim Beckman was once the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State University, where I ended up graduating from. So it's really a small world inside the football, in the football world, but I just didn't see the University of Illinois being conducive to my growth as a man and as a player at that time. Nothing personal against them. I just wanted more.
Especially in the past at that time, Michigan State has a lot. There's two sides. There's people that love Michigan State, players that went
Absolutely.
there. There's people who say the coach is kind of messed up. It's kind of
hmm
unorganized. What was your personal experience going to Michigan State?
I'm a Spartan dog for life, regardless of, I made the decision to leave Michigan State. Um, I love Michigan State. I fell in love with Michigan State my junior year in high school. I went on a visit there. Actually, the day they offered me a scholarship there, um, they made my little brother's dream come true. And my little brother Trey, he has autism. And this is back when NCAA, the video game, was popping. My brother would always play with the mascots, and one of his favorite mascots to play with was Sparty. So we went on a visit there. We went for the Michigan and Michigan State basketball game, and it was phenomenal. We were sitting in the end zone. It was me, my brother, and my dad at the time. We went to the game. We had a blast. But they told us after the game we were going to go down on the court so Trey could meet Sparty. It didn't happen due to Michigan State winning and all the commotion going on. The next day we went on the campus visit, around the campus, seeing a lot of buildings, um, most of whom I would never go into, because it wasn't those buildings weren't for my field of study. But we got back to the football building and looking at these trophies and pictures that we've seen before. So we keep asking, like, Coach, what's going on? When are we going to be able to see Sparty? And at the time, it was Coach Dan Roshar. He was my main recruiter. Um, Ron Burton, he was the new defensive line coach at Michigan State, and it was Coach Mark D'Antonio, there at the head at the time, and Coach Pat Narduzzi, who was the defensive coordinator. All of them were there, and like just the look on their face, it told me to start just looking around. I began to look around, and I saw Sparty appearing outside on a golf cart, and I'm like, "Oh snap! It's about to go down." I mean, my brother, he's distracted looking at one of the trophies or whatever, and then Sparty comes through the door, and my brother, he lets out like this shriek or this noise that I've never heard him make before. And he ran over and damn near tackled Sparty. And I was like, whoa, everybody who was there began to get like a little emotional, even the coaches on the coaching staff, because it was just a beautiful moment. And for how Michigan State made my family seem like family, that was something huge for me. Because like I said, my brother Trey, watching how he accepted that entire experience, it was beautiful. And then football wise, everything else spoke for itself at Michigan State. I came from Mount Carmel High School. At the time, we had the number one defensive line. I mean, number one defense in the state of Illinois, going on like 2 years in a row. And then at the time, Michigan State's defense was ranked top three defensively in like five different categories at that point for like 3 or 4 years. So Pat Narduzzi was building something special there, and I saw myself being able to excel in his defense with my skill set. Um, so all of that played a huge factor into my decision going to East Lansing. My parents would be able to come to the games. It was only like a 3.5, 4 hour drive from Chicago. Other family back in Chicago could come. Um, so I was far enough away, but not too far.
That's really great to hear that Michigan State treated you like gold. When you
Yeah.
made that decision to leave, where were you at mentally?
Mm, man, I like the questions that you asked. I'm not gonna lie. Either only a few people have asked me these questions, or nobody ever has. But at the time when I was leaving Michigan State, mentally, like I was in a dark place, kind of, because at the time I necessarily didn't know how the future was going to unfold. I kept the faith. I remained faithful in God. I stayed prayed up, listened to my father and my parents, used them as guidance. But times got rough because when I left Michigan State, I decided to go to Butler Community College in El Dorado, Kansas. As soon as I got there, it was Labor Day weekend, and my paperwork was submitted to the NJCAA the day after Labor Day, which was the 16th day, and I was ruled ineligible to play by the NJCAA due to the 15-day grace period. So I lost an entire year of eligibility. But thank God I was able to receive scholarships from Division I AA schools, and I received 3 scholarships from Power Five schools: Syracuse, Oklahoma State, and Kentucky. So I chose to go to, I said Michigan State, Oklahoma State, um, because when I was at Michigan State, we had a chance to go to the playoffs, the college football playoffs. It didn't end the way that we wanted to, roll tide. But I had that experience, and I wanted to go to a school that would put me in the best position to get back there, but also showcase my talents to, excel and ultimately make it to the National Football League. And Oklahoma State was the best match for me, and it was one of the greatest decisions I ever made in my life.
Now, were you surrounded by the Butler Community College football even though you weren't playing?
Yeah, I was. I was surrounded by the entire staff, but I was only there for a week and a half because I wasn't allowed to play football. I didn't want to stay there and just practice because, like I said, I was in a dark place mentally. Um, so I decided to go back home, train with my father, got a job, was living a normal life for a little bit, but living that normal life for that small amount of time, it allowed me to realize like I'm not a normal person, and I say that in the most humble way because I bust my tail to get in certain positions, and it was like, yeah, working at Dick's Sporting Goods, it was not it. I mean, I was grateful for the opportunity, but it wasn't it.
Now, going to Oklahoma State, right? They have a very uniform standard, the way they run things. Mike Gundy, one of the most legendary college coaches. Talk about your relationship with Coach Gundy and some of the values he's instilled in you.
Man, Coach Gundy, I remember the first time I had the chance to meet him when him and Coach Joe Bob Clements, two of the greatest coaches I've had, and I have great relationships with them. Um, just meeting him when he came to my house, sat down and spoke to me and my parents coming out to Chicago. It was it's kind of funny. I'm like, this is the dude you see on TV. Listen to his southern accent in his talk. I'm like, man, he is just like how you see him on TV. This guy is hilarious. But Coach Gundy's really cool, man. He allowed me to be in a position coming to Oklahoma State to have a second chance. Him and his entire staff going to the people behind the scenes, Coach Rod Johnson, one of the players, director of player personnel, um, the people in the academic wing, Miss Emily, making sure that we had everything that we needed to do and to remain eligible. Um, Oklahoma State is a huge staple in my life because, like I said, the second chance of my daughter. Man, my daughter, she was born in Stillwater, Oklahoma. A few days after I was fortunate enough to win the defensive MVP of the 2018 AutoZone Liberty Bowl. But Stillwater, Oklahoma changed my life. And I'm forever, forever grateful. I met some amazing people, had some amazing experiences. Um, and that's the place I was truly able to live my dream out and be a college football player. I was able to do that at Michigan State, but I didn't get the playing time, of course, that I necessarily wanted. But as far as doing everything else that I wanted to do, Oklahoma State provided that for me. Um, and like you were saying, all the cool uniforms, never wearing the same uniform twice, whether it be a different decal, the different face mask, the pants, like all this cool stuff. I'm having the chance to meet Barry Sanders wearing the throwback uniforms for homecoming of 30-year anniversary of when he won the Heisman Trophy. It's like being around some of college football's most historic people, and even Mike Gundy being his quarterback while he played, and him being my coach. I'm just grateful. Having so much knowledge around me, it it allowed me to lock in and not just go to Stillwater and make it. Oh, let's go out, have fun, do this, do that. Like, no, I was able to get my degree, be a student athlete, like meet great people, and do things I never thought I would be able to do. Honestly.
Now, I gotta ask you. NIL was kind of in the conversation when you were about to leave, but listening to you talk, how would you have utilized NIL to its greatest potential if you were still in college?
Man, where do I begin with the NIL? Because hearing the amount of money players are making is like truly life changing. And I was fortunate enough to be voted as the number one recruit in Michigan State's entire 2014 recruiting class, and having certain accolades attached to my name. Certain people have done some research to see how much money I would have made just based off my name, the rankings, things of that nature, the school I decided to go to. And that money would have been life changing for me to be able to set myself up, my daughter and my family, for years to come. Would have used it to help open up my foundation for people with special needs and autism, to support my brother and people like that, and help them with opportunities for when they're done with schooling. I believe at 21 to 23 years old, depending on certain programs, helping them get jobs and placement, teaching them life skills, so they can learn how to live on their own because their supporting staff may not always be there. So there's several things that I wanted to do. I would have loved to do, but I don't like dwelling on the past. But I'm happy for the players that are able to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness now. Um, I know one thing: if my daughter decides to be an athlete, she's going to be a student for sure. She takes care of everything academically now. But if she decides to be an athlete and she's one of the top in the country, she's going to take full advantage of her NIL opportunities. I would say that.
That's gonna be great when you're her manager, and you can kind of have some of that bread too. But I kind of wanted to ask you, 2018 Liberty Bowl MVP, you went stupid your senior season. You were going crazy. I mean, talk to me about that season and your NFL draft process.
Oh man, the season It was kind of crazy. I started off the season as a backup for the first 4 games, and the day I became a starter, I wasn't even at practice. I was sick like a dog. I was at the hospital, connected to IVs, and one of my best friends, Darian Daniels, he was the starting. He was the starting 3 technique at the time. He had broke his finger in practice. And he had gave me a call when I got out the hospital. He came over to my apartment. He notified me of what was going on with him. And a lot of my other teammates were texting me, "Hey, bro, you're a starter now. Darian's hurt. Yada yada yada." I'm like, "What in the world? That's not how I wanted to become a starter." So I stepped into that role, going into Kansas my senior year. Um, I was prepping to have my daughter at the end of the season, sometime or December, January that time. It wasn't a guarantee that I would ever be a draft pick, or my opportunities at the next level weren't guaranteed. So it was a lot riding on my senior year. I ended up tearing my labrum in my shoulder after the 3rd game as well, just slightly in the front. Kept playing on it, and at the end of the season, I had tore it all the way around. But I was driven because I wanted to make sure I gave myself other opportunities to play football in the future. And when they announced who we were playing in the bowl game, like December 12th or something of that nature, I told everyone, I began telling people I'm going to win defensive MVP of the bowl game. And certain people were looking at me in my face like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's what's up, sure, yeah." And I would look back at them, "Okay." And I wanted to win so bad, not even for myself, but for my daughter. At the time, I really didn't have much to give her, a newly father. So I wanted to give her that trophy because, I mean, the Liberty Bowl, you can't beat that. And the trophy would mean so much to me. It would show that I left everything on the line for my daughter. And it would be like an example of you can get anything that you say you want if you put your mind to it, hard work, dedication. So that was like a staple for me to give her that. Now seeing her walk around or walking next to the trophy, like, man, it sends chills down my spine because I'm like, if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't have proved something to myself. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. That was life changing, and I was able to look in people's eyes around me and see the change that they saw when they looked at me because they were like, "Whoa." And the articles that they were writing leading up to the game about Mizzou's SEC offensive line, they should dominate against Oklahoma State's Big 12 defensive line. And I know the stigma behind everything when it comes to the Big 12. Defenses aren't that good. But Jim Knowles, who was our defensive coordinator at the time, he didn't allow us to listen to the nonsense. He's the defensive coordinator at The Ohio State now. Um, Me and him still stay in constant communication. He's part of my success as well, and I gave him a huge shout out when I did the post game interview after they notified me that I won MVP. But it was just surrounding myself around people that would help me get over that hump and do what I knew I was capable of doing, and they saw it too, and it was beautiful. And actually, the crazy part about that game too, I was one of the impact players of the game. You know, at the bottom of the screen, they talk about 2 players from the team, 2 players from that team. I was one of the 4 players they spoke about, and that never happened in my life. So after the game, I got back to my phone. I saw like people taking screenshots showing me. I knew it was God. It was written in the sky before we even played in that game. I was like, wow, it's game time. The rest is history.
Enoch, I wanted to ask you, after your college career, I kind of want to gloss over it, but you were part of a couple indoor football organizations. Talking to you, you have a very high business acumen. What do you think the biggest difference from college football and indoor football is in terms of the way organizations are run?
Really, it's all about the last word, and I don't want like using the definition or one of the words that you use in describing what it is, but organization, structure, um, and having a team around that is moving in the same direction. Like that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to go to Mount. I'm jumping around a little bit, but that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to go to Mount Carmel as well. Mount Carmel's mascot is a caravan. I know people hear caravan, they think a Dodge Caravan like the vehicle. No, caravan is a group of men coming together to accomplish one goal, and that's what I implemented in my life. So if these arena indoor teams are able to build a legit team around themselves and people who have the right mind frame, not that we're going to bring people out, use them and waste their time, but we're going to actually help them excel to get to where they want to be and where we see that they can go, then arena indoor football would be spectacular. But certain things don't allow that to happen. When certain people put their egos in the way or their own personal gain in the way, and they have no factor in the final outcome of games. They're just behind the scenes handling business on the computer.
I wanted to ask you, right? Because, for those who don't know, Enoch was a college football coach here for a little bit, defensive line coach at the University of Wisconsin, Oswald. I kind of want
Oshkosh,
yeah,
it's all
exactly.
good.
But, talk to me about the biggest struggle dealing with this generation of college kids.
Oh my gosh. The biggest struggle dealing with like some of these younger guys, and man, me saying that right now, I feel old. Some of these younger guys, but when I had the opportunity to coach at Oshkosh, and then I was the coach at Northeastern Oklahoma A&M, the defense line coach there temporarily. The main thing I would say about the younger generation is a lot of the kids have been told for so long, you're so good, you're this, you're that, and they feel like they don't need to work. A lot of the guys aren't coachable because they feel like they've arrived. They hit the ball, they landed on first base, feel like they made it all the way home. When you have so much more work to do to get to where you want to be. Um, so I would say complacency, um, or coachability, and yeah, I would say those are main two things because everything else that I wanted out of the players, as far as effort, you can't coach effort. I would get that. It was just when it's time to lock in, it's time to lock in. And taking knowledge from those who've made it before you. Don't allow it to go through one ear and out the other. Embrace it. Yeah, that's about it.
Enoch, really appreciate your time. Great talking to you. My final question for you is, where do you see yourself in the next 1 to 2 years?
Honestly, I don't see the timeline being that long for myself. Honestly, see myself in the UFL and then going to the NFL, the National Football League, here within the next year and a half, honestly. I envision myself being on a 53-man roster by the 2026 season at the latest. These opportunities to play in the Arena League, Indoor League have truly awakened a monster. And I refuse to allow my child's time to be wasted anymore.
Enoch, again, appreciate your time. Great talk. I wish you the best of luck, and you got big things in store, so keep grinding.
I appreciate you, Chris. You're doing a great job allowing players to come on here and say what they need to say, allowing them to have a spotlight to see who they are, learn more about them, because we're more than just football players. And before I get off here, I wanted to tell my daughter I love her. Asia, I appreciate everything that you're doing with my daughter, with our daughter. Mom, Dad, I love you. For sure. Trey, Jeremiah, Shakira, Simone, I got y'all back always. My former teammates with the Cedar Rapids River Kings, I love you guys. I wish you guys the best. Um, Mount Carmel Caravan, I love you guys always. Michigan State, go green. Oklahoma State, go Pokes, baby.
Yes, sir.
I'm a game changer.